right, we are back to study about Mary Wroth. Mary Wroth, hmm, she she lived from 1587 to about 1651, 1653 to about 64. Not sure why there's some question over when she died, but the records that people kept were not always perfect back then, okay? Things got lost or not recorded, or, especially women, right? Yeah, so anyway, she lived to about the age of 64. Definitely born in the Renaissance, and lived through till 1651 or 1653. And she was the niece, of course, as I mentioned earlier in a previous video, to Mary Sidney Herbert and her brother, Sir Philip Sidney. So Mary Sidney, or Mary Sidney Herbert, is another one of the poets that we're reading from the Renaissance, and Mary Wroth is her niece, and also her brother's niece, Philip Sidney. She's the daughter to a reputable poet as well. On breaking the literary mold and achieving literary firsts, Mary Wroth was actually the first English woman to compose a full-length prose romance. So back then, a lot of things were written in poetry form or poetic form. For example, a lot of longer works told stories, but they told them in poems. Even Shakespeare's plays, a lot of them have poetry, right? They don't have a lot of prose, although there is prose in Shakespeare's poetry. Shakespeare's, there is prose in his plays, but a lot of it is rhymed iambic pentameter, which would be considered poetic. So anyway, she wrote the first full-length prose romance, which means a romance not written in poetry. So a romance written in what we would consider everyday discourse. So kind of like what you would read a romance novel today. So it's not a novel, but it's written in full-length prose. So like kind of speaker to speaker, and the way we speak it's not poetic. It's not, certain number of syllables per line and rhyme and meter and all that. All right. And that is called the Countess of Montgomery's Urania, or Urania, however you choose to pronounce that. And sonnet cycle Pamphylia to Amphilanthus. Of course, with her family and connections, she received an exquisite education because they're aristocracy / nobility and very wealthy. So she had, access to libraries in her home and private tutors that would have tutored the children in their home. So very fine education. Her misfortune seemed to start when she married Robert Wroth, an overly jealous man who died young and left her with an indebted estate and also an infant son who died soon thereafter. She then had an affair with her cousin, William, Earl of Pembroke, who fathered her two surviving children. So kind of an interesting life for a member of the aristocracy, having, had a son who died young. Not a son. She had a baby who died young, and a husband also who died young. The son died after the husband, and she was left in debt. And then she had an affair with her cousin and had two children with him. So unfortunately, she was scathingly attacked for her prose romance by the real life people that she kind of skewered by, in the romance. So she wrote it, but she had real life people like behind certain characters and was able to critique them or criticize them through that, whatever they said in the prose romance. And the people that were behind those real life characters very much attacked and criticized her. The text of hers that we read for class is called Song, and it's from the prose romance and presents a shepherdess, in other words, a female shepherd, singing skeptically about the evanescent or very temporary and unreliable nature of love to a fellow shepherd. Perhaps such skepticism towards love could emanate from her personal experiences with Robert Wroth, or even, and Robert Roth was that overly jealous man, and then he died young and left her in debt. Or even the affair with her cousin may have also led her to have these kind of attitudes towards love, that it's temporary and unreliable, unpredictable. Certainly unpredictable with her husband dying so young. The poem certainly does not fit the norms of a pastoral poem. Usually pastorals concern themselves with idolizations of love and women. So things that aren't kind of like rooted in reality, but are an idealized version of how we would like to see reality. Roth's poem here has a female shepherdess deconstructing the idealization of love to reveal the more painful and pessimistic reality of a shepherdess without her love. So this song, even though it's in the prose romance, is since it is a song, it does have some attributes of poetry, right? Because usually that's what songs have, right? They have rhyme, rhythm, and particular meters and things. So anyway, enjoy reading Song by Mary Wroth, another accomplished woman who yet dealt with adversity, right? She saw it through. Alrighty. Enjoy. Okay, so before I send you off to read Mary Roth's work, Song, just a few more clarifications. So, interestingly, her father, as I had mentioned, was Robert Sidney. So he was brother to Sir Philip Sidney and also Mary Sidney, and he himself was a poet. So, yeah, as we said, she started from some really, great wealth, aristocracy, connection, and poetic examples in her aunts and her aunt, uncle, and father. And she was actually largely raised in her aunt's home, Mary Sidney's home, Mary Sidney Herbert, whom we're also reading in the Renaissance here. And then the person with whom she had the affair after her husband died, she didn't have the affair while he was alive. There's no indication, at least, that she did then. So after he passed away, and then after her son passed away, she started an affair with her cousin, William, her first cousin, William, Earl of Pembroke. And that actually happened to be the son of Mary Sidney Herbert. So, yeah, and she was raised in that household, so they knew each other very, very well. And she ended up having 2 children with him, although she never married him. She had 2 children with him. And some of Song, and Song actually, I don't think I stated this clearly enough earlier. Not only was Mary Sidney the first English woman to compose a full-length prose romance, which is the Countess of Montgomery's Urania, she was also the first English woman to compose a complete sonnet cycle, and that was the Pamphylia to Amphilanthus. Now, the Pamphylia to Amphilanthus, again, seems to be kind of semi-autobiographical too. And it's about Pamphylia, who is this very loyal woman who loves Amphilanthus, but Amphilanthus is not always faithful. And in fact, I think the queen sends Pamphylia away so that she can have Amphilanthus. And some of this parallels what happened in Mary Wroth's life. She with her cousin William, the Earl of Pembroke, with whom she had those 2 children during that affair where she wasn't married to him at the time. And I think she was sent away. She was actually a lady in waiting, not only not only was she a lady in waiting, but she was for Queen Anne, and she was sent away because Queen Anne preferred William. Okay, and I guess Amphilanthus is depicted in the sonnet cycle as kind of a philandering character, and that's sort of, I think, what we're gleaning William was like also. So there are definitely some parallels to real life. So anyway, I guess that explains the themes of Song, which are that love is fickle, love cannot be relied upon, cannot be trusted, and it's kind of it can be a painful experience. The shepherd is singing skeptically about that evanescent and unreliable nature of love to the fellow shepherd. So, enjoy the poem. Seems to be very realistic compared to a lot of idealizations that paint love in a very, sort of simple minded, one level concept. Here she has a very nuanced one that kind of reflects reality at least from her own life. All right, thanks. Enjoy, guys. Enjoy the sorrow. No, enjoy the writing. All right, take care. Thanks.